Hey guys and girls, how's it going? Oh, you good? That's wonderful. Yeah, I just pardon the disheveled appearance. I just recently woke up and it's like 5 p.m. So, yeah, just chilling. Good times. Yeah, nothing too much to report. Feeling good. Feeling calm. Mm, I think I'll make a video on remote viewing either today or tomorrow. So, yeah, let's get into page 10. Interesting title. It's called Disaster. Anyway, don't worry. Okay, disaster. Mute black night, sudden fire, destruction. Now, you don't have to look at it like that because destruction isn't necessarily a positive or a negative thing. It just is an aspect of existence, right? Destruction is what keeps our bodies alive. The destruction of other forms of life sustains us. Isn't that just so fucked up to hear? But it's true, you know. So it's not a, like I was saying, it's not a good or bad thing. It's an integral aspect of existence, and without it, nothing would be here. Okay. Disaster strikes in its own time. I wonder if the author was going through like a sudden, like harsh day or something dramatic happened, so he wrote this. Maybe, you know. It is so overwhelming that we can do nothing other than accept it. That's one of the last steps, right? The first step is denial, you know. It feels like, oh, is this even? It's so surreal. When I've experienced genuine disaster, the first thing, it's like a few seconds ago, my world was totally different. And now it's almost like there was a way you could just go back in time, just a few seconds, or a minute maximum to save yourself. Unfortunately, you can't go back, as far as we know. You can't go back 1 second into the past any more than you could go back 1 million years. It is what it is, right? But acceptance is one of the last stages of dealing with grief when it comes to disaster. It alters the course of our days, our work, our very thinking. Although it is so tempting to resent disaster, there's not much use in doing so. Why would someone resent disaster? When I had a very difficult, I've had many challenging moments, right? But during one particular, I've never thought like, how could you even say, oh man, I hate this, right? Because it's not something that is sentient or cognizant of its impact on us, right? It's an event, a meaningless one, right? You just say, well, I've always been the type of person to just say, oh shit, I'm really going through this. And just let it be. We cannot say that a disaster had malice towards us. Though it might have been deadly, it's hard to say that it has wrecked our plans. In one stroke, it changes the very basis of the day. What does he mean? Okay, I'm trying to understand exactly what this sentence means. Okay, I agree with the first part. Disaster, it isn't capable of having malice towards anything because it's just an event, right? It's not a sentient being. Um, it's hard to say that it has wrecked our plans. Uh, no, you could say that, right? If you're going to the store and you get into a car crash, like that pretty much changes the trajectory of that day, right? No more store. Your plans are moot. You know that saying, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. No, in one stroke, it changes the very basis of the day. I don't know, but let's keep going because there's more I could say about that. But anyway, let's just put this in the context of the Tao. Okay, disaster is natural. Yes, part of the natural world. It is not the curse of the gods. It is not punishment. Disaster results from the interplay of forces. The earthquake from pressures in the earth, the hurricane from wind and rain, and even the accidental fire from a spark. Now, disaster doesn't necessarily have to be a curse or anything like that. Um, I mean, it can be caused by some malevolent entity. By entity, I mean in the broader sense, some sentient being that is capable of making decisions can bring disaster to you. The disaster itself, it's sort of like a neutral event type thing, but the originator is completely capable of being malicious, right? Now, I understand that the author is trying to say, just in the same way you would experience natural beauty, like we were talking about yesterday, um, you should experience natural evil. Eh, you should just be able to observe natural evil without any sort of attachments or labels towards it. And that I agree with. That's a very Buddhist type sentiment. Um, and it's one of the things we learn in Vajrayana is that pain and pleasure aren't the problem. The problem is the ego. All right, when it comes to creating suffering. When you're doing tomo or really any type of tantric cultivation, what happens is you feel extreme bliss. People don't really know what that means until they experience it. But it's the kind of bliss, pleasant, quote unquote, sensation that is so extreme, it literally feels like you're going to go insane. And that's suffering. It's so good, it's horrible. And so that you could compare it to actually being tortured, right? And it shows you actually what's going on is your ego isn't able to handle like extreme states in one direction or another. And I'm really like grateful, like my teacher told me all that before I even experienced it, and when I did, I totally understood what he was trying to tell me. So disaster can be viewed in the same way. The problem isn't the actual event, uh, disaster, or like, let's say you win the lottery, The problem is the way your ego colors your perception of what's going on, creating suffering. And I think that's what the author is referring to. We rush to ask why in the wake of a great disaster, but we should not let superstition interfere with dispassionate acceptance. There's no God visiting down destruction. And even if there was one, and I'm sort of like, I do kind of believe in a supreme creator. I don't know. I believe that it embodies a lot of positive content, positive, how do you even put it? Positiveness. It's the source of all positive things, right? I don't think it necessarily has to do anything with your life. You just, hey, you do what you want to do. If you want to be good, then you'll be drawn closer to it. If you want to commit evil, you'll experience less of the divine, right? Although interestingly, there is something such as dark ascension, right? If you look at like E.A. Cuoting's works and stuff like that, it's interesting. I don't know if it leads to states of non-duality though. Who knows? But even if there was a God visiting down destruction upon you, it wouldn't change the fact that your ego is what is causing you to suffer, not the actual event. Disasters may well change us deeply, but they will pass. Yeah. Goes back to that. One of my favorite stories. This is an old story. I forget where it's from. This king who was tired of constantly going through the slings and arrows of life asked this wizard to make him a ring that would make him happy when he was sad and sad when he was happy. So the wizard just made a very simple ring with an inscription. Okay, these two shall pass. It's one of my favorite stories. When I used to drink a lot, that was always I never really understood that when in my 20s. You go to the bar, you're excited as fuck, hanging out with friends, maybe seeing some cute girls or cute boys, whatever. I'm heterosexual, but I'm putting this in like a unisex context. Um, and then the night is going on, and you realize, hey, we'll be leaving soon. I'll be hungover as hell in the morning. Okay. Then you wake up, you're hungover, maybe you had a nightmare, because drinking gives me nightmares, but um, you feel miserable. Eventually that passes, and then you start feeling, oh, hey, I can feel great again, right? So you go back to the bar, and the cycle repeats over and over again, right? It's like we're trapped in that cycle of going up, going down, going up, going down, right? Did the highs make up for the lows? No, absolutely not. It was a difficult time in my life. Um, I am, gosh, I am much happier today than I ever was back then. The little joy I would get from drinking or feeling drunk is nothing compared to just feeling calm, knowing the direction of my life, actually being able to see the intentions of people, whether they like me as a person or whether they just want to use me. There are many many negatives that were cut out of my life just as a result of not drinking. And part of that is just understanding the cycle of going up and down, It's tedious. I'd rather just be calm, level. It's a deeper sense of happiness than what I achieved from being up. All right. And similarly, the low points are not that low. I haven't had any great, not really. Okay, I broke up and that was bad, but it wasn't that bad, you know. It wasn't like a traumatic event like that would permanently scar me. It's just part of life. So getting out of that cycle of going up and down was a priority to me when I understood it well. And yeah, I feel better. We must keep our deeper convictions and remember our goals. Whether we remain ash or become phoenix, it's up to us. Whether we remain ash or become the phoenix is up to us. I like that. Rising from disaster, reincarnating into something greater than we were before, or into what we used to be. Disaster always gives me like the impetus to begin a new journey. Like these videos, I started them because not out of disaster, but just it was part of it was part of like a breakup thing. Like months after it, I decided, I want to create something. I fortunately got a new laptop and everything, so uploading and all that is much easier for me. And I decided I wanted to create something and document a year-long journey and transform, as well as take my spirituality more seriously, because it's one of the most important things to me. It would be family, spirituality, money, everything else. Well, friends are also there. Yeah, but it was part of that whole like reinvention, transformation type thing for me. So yeah, that's why I started the channel. Anyway, hope you're having a great day. Um, if you are struck by disaster, I hope that number one, you're safe now and you'd have time to work through it, either through meditation or therapy or whatever else. And I hope you rise above it, you rise through it, become the phoenix. Take care.